Hi and welcome. My name's Adrienne Rogers, and I'll be talking about how to manage your kids' online activity during this worldwide coronavirus pandemic, COVID 19. I first want to say thank you for tuning into this presentation. I understand that this is such a busy time for everyone, especially you parents, and this new reality we're dealing with can be so overwhelming. You're trying to balance work from home jobs, your kids' remote learning programs, all those housekeeping chores, cooking 3 meals a day, and having everyone home at the same time. That is no easy job. So please keep in mind before listening to this presentation that you are doing a great job considering these stressful circumstances, and you should give yourself a pat on the back for taking the time to educate yourself on such an important topic. So let's get started. So, why is this topic of screen time so important? I mean, hey, electronics are required in so many different areas of life these days, even school, and it's almost necessary to have electronics as a part of your daily routine. And especially right now, to keep from feeling isolated, parents and kids alike need computers, tablets, smartphones, all that to stay connected to friends and family outside of home. And this doesn't mean we should cut off those communications for the sake of restricting screen time. So instead of just unplugging, how can we strike a healthy balance? So that will be the purpose of this presentation. And this is important because now more than ever, children and adults are using electronics much more than usual. And this may pose a lot of challenges for parents because it's one extra task on top of everything else we have going on to monitor their online activity and screen time behaviors. But as you surely already know, technology is so advanced, and unfortunately, there's many safety risks that children are susceptible to becoming victims of. So it's important for parents to be aware of the issues at hand with technology, how to keep their kids safe from those online dangers, and also how to maintain a healthy balance of screen time and avoid stressful battles with limits with your kids. So, what's going on? How much time are kids really spending on looking at screens? So, the unfortunate reality of modern childhood is that it involves more screen time than playtime. Even pre COVID 19, young children are spending a lot of time immersed in screens. In North America alone, children spend about 3 hours a day watching TV and another 2 to 4 hours on other screens like computers, laptops, tablets, and smartphones. That's a total of 5 to 7 hours per day engrossed in screens. And then children between 3 to 5 years old spend approximately 2 hours per day in front of screens as well. In the US, rates of mobile use among 2 to 4 year olds increased from 39% to 80% between 2011 and 2013. And children between 8 months and 8 years old are exposed to nearly 4 hours of background TV daily. So that's a lot of screen time for children. So now we're going to talk about some of the risks of too much screen time. And first, we're going to talk about the top online safety risks for kids. So we'll start with cyberbullying, which is defined as any aggressive, threatening, or mean spirited activity done through electronic communication, whether it be through email, social media posts, or text messages. And it's a huge risk that many youth face. Almost 34% of kids 12 to 17 years old have been cyberbullied at some time in their life, and about 11% have bullied someone else. Then there's online predators, and which is another huge risk, where adults use the internet to entice children for sexual or other types of abusive exploitation. Child victims can be as young as 1 or as old as 17. Girls make up the majority, 78% of child victims, while the majority, 82% of online predators are male. And 98% of online predators have never met their child targets in real life. And then finally, exposure to inappropriate content, which is one of the most common online threats that kids experience. Everything from vulgar language and hate speech to graphically violent or sexual pictures can be really, really harmful to an impressionable child. Over 55% of tweens, which are kids ages 10 to 12 years old, have been exposed to violent content on the internet, and then nearly 60% have come across sexually explicit words or images. So it's really important to address these topics because it occurs a lot more often than parents realize. And then there's some developmental risks for kids who are exposed to too much screen time. So, growing data suggests that exposing young kids to too much TV or computer can actually negatively affect their development, such as with their physical health, because Too much screen time may cause a decrease in being outside or engaging in physical activity. It's also associated with obesity and weight gain. And then there's some psychosocial risks as well because high levels of screen time may be displacing that face to face interaction with family members or friends. It's also associated with social isolation and aggression, and even antisocial behaviors in middle childhood. It can negatively affect their quality and quantity of sleep, and these sleep disturbances can impact brain development, which has also been found to increase behavioral problems. There's also advertising concerns because kids may be exposed to information that is developmentally inappropriate. And then there's a risk for potential language delays because if children, particularly among toddlers, are not provided those equal opportunities to play with those traditional toys that stimulate important parts of their brain, like blocks or puzzles, they can have less vocalization toward their parents. And then finally, kids may be also at risk for impediments with life skills. So, children who spend more time engaged with screens are generally less able to accomplish those age appropriate life skills like tying their shoes or riding a bike. So, a lot of parents might wonder how much is too much screen time? So every family can apply this differently, but these are the recommendations made by the American Academy of Pediatrics that we felt were important to mention. So setting screen time guidelines can really help parents avoid battles with their kids. So trying to limit screen time for infants under 18 months is suggested. You should also limit screen time use for children 18 months to 2 years old. But if you do, just try and make it educational and as age appropriate as possible. And then for kids between 2 and 5 years old, trying to keep it at an hour per day is recommended. And then for kids that are older than 6, this can be a good time to begin placing more consistent limits so bad habits don't form, especially because we don't want them to interfere with any kinds of, with their sleep or exercise or other behaviors. But we also understand this can be difficult for parents, especially when there's multiple kids at home and parents use a computer for communication. So try to work with what you have. And the main idea here is that we don't want children spending many hours in front of the screen instead of doing other healthy activities for their body and their brain. And now we're going to talk about some online safety tips for kids and parents. So, as we touched on before, as schools close and people are confined to their homes due to the coronavirus pandemic, kids are using the internet and online services way more now than perhaps ever before. And while it provides a lifeline for everyone to stay connected and entertained, as well as to seek an escape from boredom, it also brings a lot of risks. So, this is a really good time to remind parents of a few key points to help keep their kids safe online. So, first, we'll talk about how to protect your kids from cyberbullying. So, first, know the risks. Understand what cyberbullying is, where and how it happens, and how to spot it. Keep a watchful eye. So, this means place the computer in a common room. Make sure to monitor all screen time. If you let kids interact on social media, just make sure you have full access to manage their accounts. So, maybe use parental control software. This is a really great way to do this, which we'll touch more on later in the presentation. Build a network. So, they don't say it takes a village for nothing. So, the more people you have looking out for your kid online, the more likely you're able to keep them safe. So that means know your kids' friends and their parents, talk to their babysitters and relatives so they can also be on the same page. Also, talk about it. So have an ongoing discussion with your child. Talk about what cyberbullying is and what types of communication are acceptable and unacceptable, and help them feel safe to come to you if something makes them uncomfortable. Set boundaries. So put limits on screen time and stay consistent with them. This is so important. And also let your kids know you'll be checking in regularly and monitoring their online activities so they know that there's some accountability there. And then finally, be prepared to respond. So don't wait until the heat of the moment to come up with your game plan. In case your kid does get bullied online, it's important to learn what the proper responses are so you can keep your emotions in check and help your child deal with whatever they're going through because they also are more than likely having a ton of feelings themselves. So now we're going to talk about some helpful tips on how to protect your child from online predators, which is sadly a common reality right now in the online world. So first, it's important to understand the danger. So this means learn what predators are, how it usually happens, and explain that content. Explain to your kids that contact from strangers is never okay. Guide online behavior. So talk about what types of online interactions are okay and which ones aren't. Uh, Also, get in control of all camera features on your devices. So, control access to digital cameras and photo apps on every device, and make sure they can't upload or download photos without your permission. And this is why locks and passwords are super helpful. Monitor online activity. So, I mentioned this before, but it's so important to keep the computer in a common room, set those limits on screen time, and put parental controls like filters and apps in place. Keep kids out of dangerous places. So this means talk about the risks of chat rooms and social networks like Facebook or Instagram, Twitter. Set up those rules and time limits if you allow your kids to use them also. And then always follow age restrictions for those types of websites and apps because every single one has them, which you can verify on their websites. And then finally, don't let your guard down. So keep in mind that there are kid focused chat rooms and games, video games, and stuff like that where predators may pose as children and try to gain contact that way. So this is especially important to keep in mind. And then if your child has been exposed to inappropriate content and you're concerned, I included a great link at the bottom of this slide that's a great resource for parents and how to handle these difficult types of situations. And since we're on the topic of how to protect your kids from online predators, I wanted to include this great resource. Due to schools closing, obviously, as a result of COVID-19 and this increased online presence of kids online, the FBI is seeking to warn parents, educators, caregivers, and children about all the dangers of online sexual exploitation and what the signs are of child abuse. So please take the time to review this great resource and learn about the FBI's recommendations for child exploitation, child abuse awareness, and victim reporting as well. And then finally, we're going to talk about how to protect your kids from inappropriate online content. So, first, it's important to teach kids how to navigate the internet. So, talk about proper online etiquette, how to enter safe search terms, things like that. Let kids know what to watch for. So, teach them that bad stuff can come from a lot of different sources like emails, direct messages, pop ups. Then explain email safety. So this means making sure kids know not to click on attachments or messages or emails from people they don't know. Set up firewalls and content blockers. So again, use those built-in safety features that come on your devices, and also look into some parental control services that might be provide some extra safety, which we'll talk about in a couple more slides. And then be prepared. Have a plan in place in case your child is exposed to graphic content online. So, this means knowing what the proper responses are so you can focus on helping your child manage their feelings. Also, these are I listed below two great resources for some additional information. The first one is a great resource that's also provided in Spanish, and it gives some tips to keeping kids safe and private online. And the second one provides some practical steps to take if your child has been exposed to inappropriate online content. And now we wanted to give you guys some free parental control app recommendations. So, as I mentioned before, parental control apps and softwares are so important for you as a parent, just to be aware and involved in your child's online learning and screen time behaviors. And what's awesome is that this doesn't mean you have to purchase any parental control software to do it. So, there's already a lot of helpful tools built into your device hardware, software, and internet browsers. So, definitely try to look at those first. And then by selecting the link at the bottom, you can find more information about the best ones to use that have been tested and rated by professionals. Almost every brand here included in the resource has a free version available, so you can probably upgrade from those built-in parental controls without reaching to your wallet. So it's really cool. And again, that link below also provides really good tutorials on how to get them on your phone and how to navigate those built-in ones that are already on your devices and how to get them started. And then now we're going to talk about some tips for navigating your child's screen time during social distancing. So, even though there's evidence that suggests overexposure to screens can hinder children's development and pose dangerous risks to their mental and physical health, there's still a lot of potential benefits to letting children use screens. However, these benefits come from the right sort of screen time, the type of content they're exposed to, and finding that balance between screen time, and healthy behaviors. So it's important to distinguish between those different types of screen use. So here we're going to talk about some of those tips to find that balance. So first, be consistent with limits. Make sure that each day has the same amount of screen usage for your child and family so everyone knows what to expect. If you select this link at the bottom, create a family media plan, you can create a whole plan that everyone in the family can agree on, and there's a Spanish version as well. And then avoid background TV. So, spending time with your children is so critical for their healthy development. All children desire that undivided attention, and we can do this by maybe turning off the TV and putting phones away during family time, such as maybe during meal times. Take some time to ask your child questions about maybe what they're thinking, how they're feeling, what their favorite part of their day was, maybe list some reasons why you're proud of them. Just 15 minutes alone of undivided attention is extremely beneficial for kids and as well as their parents. Now, we also understand that this may be hard for many who live with others in the home, and having control over when the TV is on or off is difficult. So, work with what you have. If you can communicate with others in the home and have them be on the same page, that's great. And if not, and this can't be agreed upon, just do your best in those situations and maybe just make a rule just to have no phones out during dinner time. And then encourage other activities. So, do you find yourself sometimes telling your child to get off the phone while you're also on the phone or tablet? This is an easy thing to do, and it's hard for many parents, but it's so important that we set an example and also offer the child alternatives for what to do when they do get off the phone or tablet. And maybe join your child in those alternative options, such as going outside, reading to them, or playing a game indoors. Set the example. So, as parents, we have a huge influence on how our children perceive and use technology. Kids rely on parents to both nurture their digital skills and set the boundaries for healthy and appropriate behavior. So, it's so important that you model that good screen time behavior for your children by putting down your tablets and cell phones during family time and play and engage with your kids instead. Be a good observer, listener, and asker. So, this means being more involved in your children's lives by asking questions, listening to their stories, and observing and commenting on their non screen time play activities. And then becoming media literate. So, media literacy is now a key competence for parents. There's text messages, memes, viral videos, social media, video games, advertising, and so much more that kids can get easy access to. So, it's so important to understand what games they're playing, what shows they're watching, and what apps they're using. And apps in particular are very important. So, we felt it was important to include a list of apps created by law enforcement that can be putting your child in danger. That list is referenced in the last slide of this presentation. Great recommendations for what apps to look out for and be knowledgeable about. Also, at the bottom of this slide, if you select that link, it takes you to a great and affordable guide if you find the online world confusing, which it is for a lot of parents. So go ahead and select that link if you'd like to learn more. And then here are some super easy alternatives to screen time. So you can build a fort by using the pillows and chairs or blankets that are already in your home. Write a letter to a friend or family member or loved one. Send it in the mail. Bake or cook something simple with your kids. Play board games or do a puzzle. Rearrange your room or a space in your home. You can color, draw, or paint. Take a walk outside. Take your scooter or your bike. Spot how many different trees you can see. So there's lots of different creative ideas out there. And by selecting this link below, you can find other really, really great indoor ideas that are low cost, super easy, and super fun as well. And we also want to mention to try and embrace boredom. Pre pandemic, our worlds were whizzing past us so quickly, we could easily distract ourselves from feeling bored and facing unpleasant feelings, but not anymore. Feeling or finding meaningful ways to spend your time is a life skill that's important for kids to learn. So it is okay to allow them to be bored and use their creativity to find things to do. All right, so as we come to a close for this presentation, here are some final takeaways for screen time during social distancing. So don't forget, select high quality and educational programming, watch or engage in screens together as a family, and don't forget to upload or download those parental control apps and softwares onto your devices for an extra layer of control. Use screen times for human connection, balance screen time with other activities, and then model those healthy habits. And also below, there's this really great online resource. There's numerous free educationally based online activities out there for kids to do at home during COVID-19. Such as virtual story times, drawing lessons, music classes, and so much more. So select that link below for a huge compiled list of that stuff to keep your kids entertained, occupied, and also educated throughout this time. And again, thank you so much for listening in on this super important topic. We know you as parents are balancing so much right now and struggling to keep things together while also keeping your worries, both yours and your children's, under control. But you don't have to do this alone. So please remember that if you need any extra guidance or help during this time, seek out advice from your child's teachers at school, and they can play a huge support role in connecting you to the right resources. You're doing a great job, parents, so keep it up and we'll get through all this together.